I remember those days, 26 years ago, when we were just a couple of young kids in love. We had the world at our feet in dreams as big as the sky. I was a simple bloke working at 9 to 5 at a few clothing stores, and she was a real estate agent. Always the life of the party. We were a match made in heaven, or at least that's what we thought. Over the years, we built a life together, 2 beautiful kids, a couple of goofy dogs, and a home that was always filled with laughter, love, and a whole lot of chaos. It wasn't a fancy life, but it was our life. We had our ups and downs. Sure. But at the end of the day, we always found our way back to each other. It wasn't like we were some fairy tale couple. You know, we argued about bills, the kids whose turn it was to do the dishes. But we also laughed together a lot. We knew how to make each other smile. Even on the worst days, our home, well, it was a bit of a mess, but it was our mess. Kids' toys strewn about, dogs tracking mud through the hallways, dishes piling up in the sink. But it was filled with so much love and so much life. I wouldn't have had it any other way. 26 years of marriage, mate. It wasn't always easy, but I thought it was solid. I thought we were solid. But as I soon found out, things aren't always as they seem. You never think it'll happen to you until it does. And when it does, it hits like a bloody freight train. The iPad, it was a Christmas gift from me to her. A couple of years back. At first, she just used it for work, answering emails, scheduling appointments. But over time it became more than just a work tool. It was a portal to the world, a source of entertainment, a place to connect with friends, and so much more. She'd curl up on the couch with it, lost in the world of social media or engrossed in some new online game she had discovered. And in the quiet evenings when the kids were asleep, she'd sit by the fire, iPad in hand, tapping and scrolling away. I didn't think much of it. To be honest, it was just part of our routine. She on her iPad, me watching telly, both of us unwinding after a long day. It was a comfortable silence. A testament to our years together. We didn't need constant chatter. We were content in each other's company. But as the months went by, I started noticing a change. She was on her iPad more than usual, late into the night, early in the morning. It was like she was glued to it. I didn't understand it at the time, but looking back, it was the first sign. The first sign that my wife was drifting away from me, hiding behind the glow of her iPad screen. If only I had realized it sooner. One evening, I was cleaning up the kitchen when I noticed her iPad on the table. She had left it behind when she had gone out for her evening run, a habit she picked up lately. I glanced at it. Curiosity piqued. It was unlocked. The screen lighting up with notifications. I thought about respecting her privacy. I did, but something nagged at me, an unshakable feeling. I decided to take a look, just a quick peek. You know, the first thing that struck me was the number of messages. She had hundreds of unread text, emails, and notifications. I skimmed through some of them. A growing sense of dread knotting my stomach. Casual chats, flirtatious comments, intimate conversations, names. I didn't recognize faces I never seen, but it was a message thread with a guy named Max that stopped me cold. It was more than just friendly banter. It was intimate, personal. They talked like lovers, shared secrets, like confidants. My heart thumping as I scrolled through their messages, each word stung me. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. My wife, my partner of 26 years, was cheating on me. All those late nights, the secretive smiles, the hush phone calls. It all made sense. Now, I felt a world of emotions: shock, disbelief, anger, but most of all I felt betrayed. The woman I had spent half my life with was living a double life right under my nose. And the worst part, one discovered it all on an iPad. The very gift I had given her. I was in a state of shock denial. Even I needed to talk to someone to share what I had just discovered. But I also needed to be sure. I needed concrete proof. Something beyond just a gut feeling and suspicious texts. That's when I decided to hire a private investigator. There was a bloke, an old homicide detective who turned into a private investigator after his retirement. I had heard good things about him and I needed the best. So I called him up, scheduled a meeting and told him everything. He listened, quietly nodding every now and then. After I was done, he looked at me and said, "I'll do everything I can to help you, mate." I wasn't alone in this anymore. I had someone on my side over the next few days. He got to work. He would follow her, take pictures, document her movements. He assured me he would get the evidence I needed and I trusted him. In the meantime, I had to act normal. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done. Every time I looked at her, all I could see were the lies, the betrayal. But I had to keep it together for myself and for what was coming next. A couple of weeks passed and I got a call from the investigator. He said he had found something. I could hear the seriousness in his voice and my heart thumping. This was it, the moment of truth. He came to my house that day carrying a folder thick with documents and pictures as he laid them out on the table. I felt like I was in some sort of crime movie, only this wasn't fiction. This was my life. The evidence was damning: photos of her with Max, their arms around each other, looking like a couple, and love receipts from expensive restaurants, hotel bookings. Everything I needed to prove that she was cheating. He even traced back the relationship to months ago, way before she asked for an open marriage. It wasn't a sudden fling. It was a plain, deliberate betrayal. I thanked him for his work. My mind reeling with the weight of the evidence before me. It was overwhelming, to say the least. There. It was black and white proof that my wife was cheating on me. It was as if a puzzle piece fell into place. But the picture it completed was one I never wanted to see. My emotions were a whirlwind. But amid the hurt and betrayal, I knew what I had to do next. I had to confront her, armed with the evidence. The pain I felt was unbearable. But the thought of continuing to live a lie was even worse. I remember her walking through the door that evening. Her smile fading as she saw the look on my face. "I know about Max," I said, my voice calm but my heart pounding. Her face went white and she just stared at me. I pushed the folder towards her, the photographs and receipts spread out on the table. She took a step back, refusing to look at them. "You're mistaken," she stammered. "Max is just a colleague," but I wasn't having any of it. "Enough. I'm not playing this game anymore," I said, my voice firm. "I know everything." The room went silent. The lie had been exposed. She didn't have any excuses left, no more stories to tell. The truth had finally surfaced. The reality that my wife had been cheating on me was now out in the open. After that confrontation, there was no going back. I had to accept the fact that the woman I had loved for 26 years, the woman I shared my life with, had betrayed me. It was a harsh reality, but one I had to face. The next few days were a blur. I contacted a lawyer and began the divorce proceedings. The process was daunting, with countless meetings, paperwork and legal jargon. I barely understood. I wanted to put an end to the sham that our marriage had become. My lawyer, a man of experience, guided me through the process. He was stern, but understanding, always reminding me that this was a battle I needed to fight for my own peace of mind. The documents were prepared. The evidence neatly compiled. My wife had no defense. Her affair was clearly documented. Infidelity was the grounds for our divorce. There was no need for a trial, no need for a jury. It was all there in the paperwork. My lawyer filed the papers with the court and we awaited a response. In the meantime, I had to deal with the fallout. Friends and family were shocked, and I found myself retelling the story over and over again. It was painful, but it was part of the healing process. I had to confront the truth, no matter how hard it was. The day of the final divorce hearing was a day I'll never forget. I sat in the courtroom waiting for the proceedings to begin. My soon-to-be ex-wife sat across the room, avoiding eye contact. You could sense the tension in the air, like a silent storm brewing. The judge, an older man with a stern expression, called the court to order. My lawyer presented the case, the iPad with this damning history of messages, the photographs, the testimonies. It was all laid before the court to see. The judge listened, his expression unreadable. My wife's lawyer tried to argue, but the evidence was irrefutable. There were no excuses, no justifications that could be made. The judge ruled in my favor. The divorce was granted, the assets were divided. She received her personal belongings, but nothing more. Alimony was denied. Thanks to the evidence of her infidelity, I couldn't help but feel a sense of burden lifted. The process was over, the marriage was officially ended. The ruling was a symbolic closure to the painful chapter of my life. The betrayal had been harsh, but it taught me a valuable lesson. Learn to always trust your gut. In the months that followed the divorce, I focused on rebuilding my life. I moved into a new home, a fresh start away from the painful memories of my old house. It was quiet, peaceful. Exactly what I needed to heal my work. Managing the 3 clothing stores became a sanctuary, a place where I could focus my energy and thoughts away from the past. The wounds from the betrayal were deep, but gradually they began to heal. Time, as they say, is a great healer. I learned to trust again. But with a newfound wisdom, I was careful, cautious, not willing to let my guard down easily. One day I received news that my ex-wife had been kicked out of her coworker's house. She had not found a new home yet. When we sold the old house, one of her coworkers, who was also a real estate agent, let her move into their house. Well, apparently she tried to meddle in her coworker's marriage. Her old habits persisting. I didn't feel sorry for her. I was glad I had moved on. Glad I had escaped the toxic cycle, the betrayal, the divorce, the rebuilding. It all came full circle. The iPad, an innocent device, had unveiled the ugly truth and ended 26 years of marriage. It was a harsh lesson. I came out stronger, wiser, ready to face whatever life threw at me next. So here I am telling my story, a testament to trust, betrayal, and healing. A reminder that sometimes the things we take for granted can turn our lives upside down. I forgot to add, my kids were heartbroken. We have a son and a daughter. My daughter was really traumatized by her mother's actions.